With that, let's move over to Who's Eating Good, served by Applebee's. And we hinted at the top of the show, we're starting with Bijan Robinson. He's got the Jets this week, Lawrence. For Berry, he comes in as RB11. They've been feeding Bijan most notably in the red zone a little bit more, and he's been productive the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted to see is fantasy managers who drafted him hoping he could be a top 5 or 6 running back for the season. And you look at the matchup versus the Jets and you think, oh, man, Jets defense. The Jets' defenses are more so scary from a fantasy perspective to quarterbacks and wide receivers because you know what the Jets have on the defensive back end. But the Jets allowed the 8th most fantasy points to running backs, and 3 out of the last 5 games, they allowed a running back to rush for 115 yards. And when you look at just this Jets matchup, it's solid. Mostert was able to break a couple of versus defense, but then you look at the Falcons versus Tampa, Carolina, Indy down the pipeline. Bijan Robinson could be one of the running backs in the fantasy playoffs that like literally win you those weeks there.
I think the most important thing for me about Bijan Robinson isn't just the fact that there's finally been some consistent usage from Lawrence's Atlanta Falcons, 19 touches in consecutive games, but it's the high quality touches, right? So 9 red zone rushes in the last 4 games for Bijan Robinson. Compare that with the weeks 1 through 7, where he got 7 red zone rushes. He was actually Tyler Agil was actually out touching Bijan Robinson in the red zone. Last 2 games, that hasn't happened. You mentioned how Mostert got in twice against the Jets last week. Because Bijan's so versatile and because they've started to use him in the passing game, shocker, Arthur Smith. The fact of the matter is that Bijan Robinson comes in at running back 11 for me, high-end RB2, low-end RB1 this week. I think he will continue to eat good in the neighborhood. The only thing that is a concern is he's had under 40% of the team's rushes in 2 of the past 3 games. Like he's scoring touchdowns, which is great, and he's getting high-quality touches, but the fact is that it's still – Algier is still much more involved than candidly he should be.
That Saints game as the Falcons was running down the clock and kind of putting the game away, it was all Tyler Algier. And I think at that point, because those last couple drives, he was getting chunks of 5, 6, 7 yards. So, they just stuck with it. They're like, hey, we got this 9-point lead. We're not going to find a way to blow it in 2 minutes. Like, we know how to do that. So, that goes into that as well.
Yep. I think the other thing from that game is that your man Desmond Ridder was no good in that game. He was not impressive coming back for his first start after Heineke goes down, and I'm not sure.
Which is weird because he's been so impressive all year long.
Well, it's crazy too because Bijan Robinson actually caught a touchdown pass.
That was a nice throw.
Who threw that?
Desmond Ridder?
Yeah. Oh, I'll just check it.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was wondering, was that a trick play that I just missed?
No.
But I do.
So you think Desmond Ridder played well?
No.
All right.
He played all right. He played like Desmond. This is the thing about Desmond Ridder, right?
Yeah. Okay.
This is the thing. He's in a tier of quarterbacks of people that people rally around, like a Gardner Minshew. Like we get Minshew mania, as if he's some type of, exactly. But we get up for Gardner Minshew.
That is not good.
Right.
That's the tier of quarterback.
Exactly. So it's like he's just a guy. But it's not like he's much worse than a Kenny Pickett. He definitely ain't worse than Mac Jones at this point. But those are guys we talked about. Well, not me, but those are guys that were talked about as, hey, maybe they could have a good season.
Yeah.
One
of them lost their job last week.
Strange, passionate defensive Desmond Ridder.
It's just he gets talked about as if he's much worse than these other quarterbacks. Yeah, he's like the Falcons will be in the market for a quarterback.
All right, we're all over the place. Connor Rogers, 2 quick questions. Second one is get us back on track, but the first one very quickly. Talent evaluator, you're starting a team right now. Who do you choose as your quarterback, Desmond Ridder or Kenny Pickett?
Oh man.
Yeah. Kenny Pickett, who plays with Mike Tomlin.
No, don't try to influence the jury.
I would take Pickett, and you have to keep in mind,
exactly.
I had Pickett as QB1 in that draft, which was an awful class.
Yes.
And I had Ridder, I think, 3 or 4. So I'll stick to my evaluation on that.
There you go.
Just last thing on this one, Connor. Do you think the Jets' run defense, which was Miami were able to run the ball in that game, the Jets have had, I know they've given up a lot of points to running backs in fantasy, but a lot of that's just because they're losing games. They've been efficient for the most part. Do you think they've slipped in run defense?
It has, and there's two reasons why. One, the time of possession for the other team is off the charts. They're out on the field, it feels like the entire game. Number two, they lost Al Woods. That was a big injury. Al Woods was their nose tackle, their run-stuffing nose tackle. He's like 800 pounds in the middle of the field. Nobody can move him. He popped his Achilles as well a couple weeks ago, and they have been a notably different unit without him in the rotation because they don't have that two-gapping fat guy in the middle of the field. And, nobody talks about Al Woods, so they just kind of keep the identity. The Jets' defense, you can't run on them. Without him and how much they're on the field, you can.
Yep.
So
I don't like the fact that when you said, it's run-stopping fat guy, you looked directly at me, and then I looked at myself on the angle, and I'm just like, that's a bad
You're our
angle.
two-gapper.
I definitely ate good in the neighborhood during
Take on the double teams.
I could definitely take on the double teams.
Hold the point of attack.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm hard to move off the spot.
Linval Joseph over here.
I
Linval
really
Berry.
am.
Dalvin
Exactly.
Tomlinson.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm more like Albert Hainsworth, just like a big unmovable object. That
Got
doesn't
100
have,
mil and
yeah,
contract.
exactly. Got paid,
You're eating
phoning
good.
it in, right, and just just gotten fat and out of shape. But I'm still like a big body that you gotta.
Right. Okay. Right. So ESPN was your Tennessee stint.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now
Absolutely.
I get it.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I literally made that joke on air over there, where I was just like, after my last contract extension there, I was just like, I'm Hainsworthing this, 100%. Oh yeah. Once you get paid, I'm done. I'm totally Hainsworthing it.
He was good in Tennessee, wasn't he,
Yeah.
Albert? Just didn't
Sounds
carry
like
him.
everybody on the desk is a big believer in Bijan Robinson to remain eating good. And with that, we move to Christian Watson here, Lawrence, who we've talked a lot this week and really last week. Jordan Love's been a lot better. Christian Watson is finally healthy. And that is blending together that Watson's had a good little stretch here where he looks like the guy he was drafted to be, making plays down the field, making plays at contested catch situations.
Yeah, it's all going hand in hand. The Green Bay offense, Jordan Love, and now Christian Watson finally getting in the mix. He scored a touchdown in 2 straight games here. He narrowly missed scoring twice against the Chargers in Week 11. It was right before the 1-yard line. Going against KC this week, you saw what KC did against the Raiders. They allowed Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers to get back on track. Both of those guys went for 75 yards. They did shut down A.J. Brown, the Chiefs did, but Devontae Smith, he got back going. So that looks like me.
With Christian Watson.
With Christian
Watson.
Watson.
More like someone wearing a Lawrence Jackson costume.
You know what I was actually asking him right here? Because
What are
this
you
was
asking
Super
him?
Bowl week. I was asking him who he was going to pick between the Chiefs and the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and he picked the Chiefs. Ironically, that's who they playing this week. I don't think he'll be picking the Chiefs this week, but I do think he has.
should.
That's
If he wants to get the pick right.
But something's
Good
telling
betting,
me.
man.
Y'all don't think the Packers can win this?
I think they can win.
Yeah,
course
I think
they
they
can.
can. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm picking them
the
to
Chiefs
cover.
are not.
for whatever
Taking
reason.
them to cover.
Yeah, I like them to cover this week.
I will say this, though, credit to him, because like Jay and I, Super Bowl week, Jay and I interview a zillion NFL players, and we asked every single one of them, Chiefs or Eagles. And I think Christian Watson's the only NFL player that literally picked the Chiefs. Like Jay and I were like,
was
why?
stunned.
Jay and I picked the Chiefs, and then we went through this week of player interviews, and everyone else took the Eagles. And Jay and I were like, what are we missing?
Yeah,
like
Patrick Mahomes plays for one team,
Right.
and he doesn't play for the other.
But literally every single player, it was just like I played both these teams, and the Eagles are more physical.
But that be factoring into it. Leonard Fournette picked the Chiefs too, though. He was at this.
We didn't interview Leonard.
He was
We didn't
at the
get
same
Uncle Lenny.
event.
I guess the thing that with that, thinking back on that, is that outside of Mahomes, everything else about the Eagles is better, and everyone else is matched up with other people who aren't Mahomes. And so I just think that your individual matchup is probably tougher against the Eagles. But it was strange. It just everyone and the market was like the game was picked, like it was a coin flip effectively. But everyone lined up behind the Eagles.
Right, except you and I.
Yes.
And we looked.
And it was never
smart.
in doubt. The result was never in doubt. in the Super
Never
Bowl.
in doubt.
No
We both said like, because that Monday show, there's like no one around Radio Row, so we had to like talk about the game, and we both just said like, we get it. They're better in every aspect except coach. We like Andy Reid over Sirianni. Quarterback, we like Mahomes over Hurts. Tight end, we like Kelsey over Goddard, and experience.
Yep.
It was like literally those, they've been there before, and the Eagles never had.
I'm now taking Sirianni over Reed, by the way, after the way that they've managed these seasons. Reed, I can't take any more 4th and 4 punts from Andy Reid in opposing territory.
Fair enough.
It's
certainly a lot closer. I'm willing to give Andy Reid the body of work vote here, but no doubt Sirianni's done an unbelievable job with Philadelphia, and it's a closer conversation than it was a year ago.
So, Matthew, you have Watson, wide receiver.
Oh, yeah, back to Christian Watson.
Yeah.
Christian Watson, here's the positives of Christian Watson. Healthy, season 9 receiving yards last week. He's now had at least 7 targets in 2 of the last 3 games as somebody who was good down the stretch. Like, we believe in the kid's talent. We've seen this guy be a difference maker, and candidly, we've seen this guy be a difference maker at the time we are right now. Like, he helped a lot of people win fantasy championships last year as well. You like the upcoming schedule. 2 of the next 4, the Buccaneers and the Panthers, are both bottom 6 in terms of most fantasy points allowed to opposing wide receivers. So there's a nice upcoming schedule here for Christian Watson. Having said all that, they're playing the Chiefs, and it's really one game. I think a lot of my answer on Watson will be, well, is Aaron Jones playing? Because if Aaron Jones isn't playing, then A.J. Dillon, and I don't think he can run, and so I think they'll have to be entirely pass happy. But the Packers defense has started to play a little bit better, and if Jones is in there, he becomes, they've got Jones, they've got Watson, they've got Musgrave, but they've got Dobbs and Jaden Reed who's coming on, and so a lot of mouths to feed suddenly in this offense. So he comes in at wide receiver 35. So he's not a must start for me this week. Again, it's a tough matchup against the Chiefs. But this week, for the first time in a long time, it's just like you could potentially consider starting Christian Watson, whereas for a while he was just so brutal, because he was hurt and him and Love weren't on the same page. They were just like, no, you're not starting him until you see it. Well, now we've seen it, and now I think you can consider it.
Yep. And also with the Chiefs, I think there's this idea that L'Jarius Sneed is this shutdown shadow corner, and he's very good, but he also gets beat. Like, this isn't like Darrelle Revis or anything. Like, he should have given up 2 touchdowns to A.J. Brown, and they just didn't connect. Devontae Adams got open against him, so I don't think that's as terrifying as some people might think it is. And then the other thing with Watson is that he was so good down the stretch last season, and it seems like he's finally healthy, and just his talent, Connor, between his like gadget type of speed and his ability to win at a contested catch point. Like, it seems like he should be a special wide receiver. Is there something about his route running or something that's unrefined?
It's the latter. You brought up the contested catch rate. It was not good in college. The opportunity wasn't there to get better at it, and it's been really up and down at the NFL. It's looked good in recent weeks, but the first year and a half of his career, you're looking at it and going, man, you're massive. You're one of the best athletes we've ever seen from a testing perspective. Why aren't you better in that area? And now we're seeing it improve. So if he dials in and makes that a little bit more consistent, he's a true number 1 wide receiver.
He is a big guy. Because Lawrence is, I'm thinking back to that picture of you standing next to him, Lawrence.
Lawrence is 6'7".
Right,
Yes.
I'm only 6'4".
All right. No, Lawrence is legit like 6 foot. It would be my guess is your height.
Are you serious?
Yeah, sure.
Take it.
It'd be nice. Look, but whatever. Like, that guy's towering over you. You're wearing a hat.
Two pair of socks.
Right.
Exactly.
Hey, I'll lock his ass up though on that.
We push him off the line. Hey, worth noting about Christian Watson, pretty good stat here from Penn State Blake. Since week 6, Watson has 10 end zone targets. That is tied for the second most in the NFL over that stretch. So they are looking for him when they get in close, and so it's been inconsistent as to whether they've connected. But certainly, to your point about Sneed, taking some chances, like, all you need is one here with Watson. Again, wide receiver 35 for me, not a must start, but certainly somebody to consider. And we like his schedule down the stretch. We think he's continuing on the upward track.
Yep. Our final one, Jay, is Tyler Higbee, who it seemed like he wasn't going to be active last week, and then he is active and finishes as tight end 2 on the weekend right now. He comes in as tight end 19 for Barry this week because, truthfully, this is usually the Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp show, but Higbee randomly going off last week.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to continue eating good with the matchup against Cleveland, who have been elite against tight ends. Now, the one thing is that so much of Cleveland's defense emanates from Myles Garrett, who has been, I think, the best defensive player in the year this season. Now, Garrett, who's, again, his arm was in a sling after the game, and he couldn't get dressed, and he said that he heard something pop, but it seems like he's fine. He's just going to play this week. So I'm not sure if he is still going to be dealing with whatever ailed him in that game. But if he is good to go, then I think this is going to be a pretty tough matchup for the Rams passing game in general, Lawrence.
Yeah, and we use the term he went off. He didn't go off. He caught these 2 nice touchdowns. He had 5 catches for 29 yards.
Tight end land, that's a big day.
You ain't lying.
Yeah.
You ain't lying. Those are his first 2 touchdowns of the season. But if you look at some of the recent tight ends they faced, Freiermuth in week 11, 1 catch for 7 yards. Mark Andrews, 2 for 44, and Trey McBride, 2 for 22, all against this Cleveland defense. And those are 3 tight ends we're willing to start every week. Mark Andrews is hurt, but you know what I mean. But even without Myles Garrett, I think it's going to be just a tough day at the office for the Rams offense as a whole.
Yep.
No team allows fewer fantasy points to opposing tight ends than the Cleveland Browns. And to your point, since Cooper Kupp came back, Tyler Higbee has a 12% target share. There's been 7 games that Higbee and Kupp have played since Kupp came back. He's had under 30 receiving yards in 6 of those 7 games. And so, I'm a tight end 19 in my initial ranks. I get it. He scored the 2 touchdowns, but no thank you.
Yep. I think Stafford as well, at this point, he's a very defense-dependent type of quarterback, where if he goes up against the Cardinals and he's got time and guys are open, he's going to look like $1 million. If he's running for his life against the Cleveland defensive front and that defense, I think it looks a lot worse. More so than players like, and look, these are better quarterbacks, but Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, these guys are much more defense independent just because of their skill sets. I think Stafford really needs a good matchup to shine.
Tiger Woods is back. Join him in the Bahamas when he tees off against his friends and rivals in the Hero World Challenge. Catch the action tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. Eastern on Golf Channel and Peacock.
Are we being invited to the Bahamas with Tiger Woods?
We maybe could do a show from the Bahamas. Right at the tee. First tee.
That'd be fantastic.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Live from the Bahamas.
Come on,
where
NBC.
Tiger Woods tees off.
Let us promote the Hero World Challenge live and in person.
That makes you wonder.
I mean, I'm just saying.
I want to hang with Tiger Woods.
You can get to the Bahamas quick enough.
Tomorrow, 1:30
Eastern
watch
time.
Tiger Woods in person.
We're taking our first break. When we're back, Keep It Open or Close It Out is next. Find out if we're starting or sitting James Conner, Adam Thielen, Puka Nacua, and others. Coming right up.
How old are you? How tall are you, Lawrence, again?
6'4".
There you go. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.